My name is Edmond Yakani, Executive Director of CEPO. I would like to take this opportunity to amplify my voice loudly on behalf of the suffering citizens that were victims of the aerial bombardment that took place today in Longechuk and in Nasir. As we are aware that resumption of violence in some parts of Upper Nile, namely Nasir and Longechuk, have started, and this is following the tension and the violence that occur in Nasir associated with the replacement of the SSPDF soldiers, which have overstayed with a new force, which end up as a center or a factor of a dispute between White Army and SSPDF, and which resulted to violence. And now the violence have resumed, and we have seen images of the aerial bombardment. Is horrific, is disturbing. It is making our tears non-stop and making us question political leaders that are behind this situation, or those political elites that fuel or that turn the situation to be more confrontational and more violent between White Army and SSPDF. This particular class of political leaders that like to fuel violence, our question to them is, for how long do you want to embrace politics that turn violently, inflicting a horrific human rights violations against our citizens, as like what we have seen in Nasir and in Longechuk as the night of yesterday when the aerial bombardment took place? As we speak now, we are aware that the violence have caused huge inflicting human rights situation that deserve to be investigated immediately, and want to call upon citizens and other institutions, being AU or IGAD, since IGAD have called for investigation, and investigation must be commissioned on this violence immediately. And we know that this violence were triggered by also some of the behaviors that have been happening in the past, where White Army are holding soldiers of SSPDF as a hostage and are demanding ransom against any head of SSPDF soldier, which is also an accepted act to see an armed civilian holding National Army as hostage and demanding cash for the release of the army. That is a practice that is unacceptable and something that is very bad. All this act of holding SSPDF soldier hostage, all this act of aerial bombardment of civilian population in Nasir and Longechuk, all of them, we condemn them. They are unacceptable, but all of them also constitute an act that may lead to violation of human rights that may be so grave. And we have seen already horrific images. We have seen how people have been assassinated, killed in one, and how people were forced to die in the bush because lack of water. All these acts a part of human rights violation that's subject to be investigated. Therefore, I would like to take this opportunity to call upon the leaders at Juba level that there's a need to immediately call for cessation of hostility and bring this situation to calm, because as the leaders in Juba, multiple times all of you have promised us that you will never return the country back to war under your leadership, but already Longechuk, Nasir, and some parts are experiencing war taking place, and horrific human rights violations are taking place. Until when should this continue? And we have seen also recently IGAD head of states and governments have hold a summit that is extraordinary summit number 43 on the situation in South Sudan, and they have made a call for immediate cessation of hostility, release of detainees, being political or being military detainees. Now this IGAD summit outcome is being violated, and we have seen being undermined. That's why I want to appeal to you as a leaders. You still have the opportunity to make peace to prevail, and please take responsibility of immediately calling for some hostility on what we have seen that has occurred in Wulang and in Nasir. And also would like to call upon to operationalize the communique of the IGAD 43 extraordinary summit on the situation on South Sudan, but also we need to call upon you to ensure that your differences are not resolved in a violent manner. But we call for an immediate investigation of the situation as required by IGAD summit. Citizens take a responsibility of investigating this and let the public know. And we're calling upon SSPDF leadership, the leadership of White Army, that please let us resolve our differences through dialogue rather than violence. This culture of violence being used as an instrument of resolving differences is badly. Violence never gain, violence never benefit, except violence inflict horrific human rights violation like what we have seen now in Longechuk and Nasir. Thank you very much.